YouTube, what's going on, guys? Finally sitting down to record my operator tier list video that I've been talking about on stream. I've been looking forward to doing this video, so it's going to be opinionated, obviously. So let me know what you guys think, if I put somebody too high or too low, and maybe why. To go through my tiers here, F pretty much going to be useless, D is going to be bad, C is going to be situational operators, so depending upon like who's playing them and where you're at and what site. B is going to be good operators that you can run on probably most sites and get away with and be useful. A is going to be very meta operators, like these are the operators you'll see in probably 80% of lineups. And then S tier is going to be the bring this operator. You're going to use them pretty much on every site, doesn't really matter. They're viable all the time. So without further ado, we'll start with Ace, the newest hard breacher, AK-12, and he can breach from distance. Little bit weak when it comes to impact tricking and bandit tricking because the Selmas can be kind of slow, but still gets a hole in the wall that you can see through. So I'm gonna put Ace at S tier. I think he's a fantastic operator. Alibi for me is going into C. She's very much a situational operator with the MX4. I think she's a good roamer if you have somebody that knows how to use her and is effective using her. Impacts and her prismas can make for some cheeky plays, but I'm gonna put her overall at C. Amaru, with the recent buff coming out of her Gara hook faster, is also going to go at C. I think before Amaru was at D just because it took way too long. But having the G8, I believe she has the 2.0 scope on the G8 and the SMG11. If you can entry frag with her, you can surprise some people and sometimes get 2 or 3 picks in sight and establish some early control. Ash for me is going in A. She's very much, in my opinion, probably one of the best entry fraggers in the game. You can play vertically to destroy utility with her breach charges. The R4C is an amazing gun, even though it doesn't have ACOG. So yeah, I'm gonna put Ash at A tier. Next is Bandit. Bandit for me is gonna be our next S tier operator. Gonna be a must bring on most sites. He's the key wall denial in the game. Has one of the best guns in the game in the MP7. And he's a 3-speed, so quick bandit, fantastic gun, and wall denial. Next, we're going to go with Blackbeard. I think Blackbeard's kind of in this, from a utility standpoint, we're going to go with Blackbeard just going in this situational. He is, in my opinion, one of the most annoying operators in the game because he's one of the only operators that can live his first headshot. I don't know why he's a thing, but if you're in stream, you know how I feel about Blackbeard. Yikes. So I'm going to put him at C. Blitz for me is going at D. I know Blitz is scarier on console than he is on PC because, you know, it's Blitz, it's a shield. It's harder to aim on console. But if you play it right and you manage to work with your team and you have impacts, you can eliminate Blitz pretty easily. So I'm going to get Blitz down in that D tier. Buck for me is going in A. I think he's very much an A tier operator. Even though he lost his frags, he's still very viable with how you can play vertically from above and below with Buck. Lost his ACOG, has the 1.5 scope though. Haven't used it yet, but I've heard it's pretty good on Buck for the most part. So Buck's going in A tier for me. Capital is going to be our first B tier operator. With the pair and the 1.5 scope, it's pretty good. Also, if you want to use the 249, it's not bad as well. I think Capital's kind of slept on in ranked. I think he could be kind of underused. I don't think people know how to use him correctly for the most part in ranked. He definitely shines in Pro League for sure. But Capital is going to be our first B tier operator for me. Next we have Castle. Castle's kind of floating on this B to C tier range for me now that he has the Super Shorty and the 1.5 on the UMP, but the UMP isn't the best gun, so I'm going to put him at C, slightly below Capital. I think Castle's one of those operators that if used in tandem with your team and set up correctly, he can be very useful. But if you got some random guy running around who doesn't know what the hell he's doing, throwing up castles left and right, he can really screw your team over. So next we'll move on to Cav. Cav for me, C tier as well. In silver, she's S tier because dear God, silvers don't know how to deal with Cav. But if you've got somebody if you got a team that can drone correctly and drone her out, she's pretty easy to eliminate. Her pistol's powerful, but her SMG's kind of meh. Most people I see run her shotgun anyways, so Cav's gonna go at C tier for me. Next we have Clash. Clash for me floats on this C to D range. I'm going to put D because if C is our situational category, D is going to be our even more situational category, or just bad operators in my opinion. I think Clash is just bad. Unless you have somebody that definitely knows how to run Clash, I think she's just bad. I think the thing that makes Clash a little more viable or a little more scary is that most people try to run from her, when in all reality you got to get up close and melee her, and you can push her shield to the side and hip fire. I'm going to put Clash at D. Next we have Doc. So in my opinion, Doc would have been probably B tier, but since losing his ACOG, I think Doc's kind of situational now. If you're in stream, again, you know how I feel about Doc. A lot of Docs are selfish, in my opinion. But he has the 1.5 scope, and he's still thick Doc boy, so he's going to eat a lot of shots. But he can heal himself, stim himself to 140, which is super annoying. He just doesn't spawn pick as much now without the 2.5 ACOG. So Doc's going to go in C tier for me. Next we have Dokkaebi. So Dokkaebi's decent for roam clearing. But if they have a mute, it's kind of hard. They can cancel their phones. If you're quick on it, you can cut your phone off pretty quickly. On console, she's it's a DMR, so she doesn't see as much love. So I'm gonna put her in C. I haven't really used her, so I don't really know how much the 3.0 scope's gonna affect her. But I'm gonna put her in this C tier category where she just kind of, I think she's much better on PC. Like PC, maybe she's B or A. But coming from console, I think she kind of floats around C just because of her. Just because she has a DMR, and the CZ75 is really good as a secondary, but I just don't know if it's enough to push her into this B to A tier category. Moving on to Echo. Echo for me is an A tier operator. Even though he lost his ACOG, he still has the 1.5 scope and a fantastic gun in the MP5 SD with the built-in silencer. His drones can deny plant. His drones can, once he's gone, they're invisible. You can still use them to spot, relay information to your team. I think Echo is a really good operator, so we're gonna put him in that A tier. Not really like a have to have, but in that A tier for sure. Ella for me is going in this. She's floating on this line between B and C. I love her gun, but it's a little harder to use. Her utility for me is kind of nice. Plus she has a deployable shield. So I think I'm going to throw Ella in this C tier. I think maybe you could push her into B on PC. But on console, most people kind of have a hard time controlling her gun. So I'm going to put Ella in this very situational, depends on who's running her category. Next we have Finka. I think Finka is in this C tier as well. The problem with Finka is that if you have a team that's like, if you're playing with experienced players, and everybody's like used to their role and they're used to their operator and they know how the recoil is going to work, Finka can often hurt your team more than help. Maybe if you're shooting and then all of a sudden you get that Finka boost, you pull too far down and then you just miss shots. So Finka is going to be C tier for me. Frost is tough because I die to Frost mats way more than I should. So Frost kind of shines against me a little bit more than she should. But I don't think she's a bad operator. I think she's just situational. If you're playing against some people that aren't really paying attention, if you've got some creative spots, Frost mats can wreak havoc on a team. But I'm going to put her in this C tier because her gun's just kind of, it's okay. It's not amazing. It hits hard, but kind of shoots slow. So put her in this like C tier with the rest of the situational ops. Fuse for me is kind of, even with the buff, I think Fuse is bad. Just because you can TK your teammates really easily. He's really thick and loud. The cluster charges are super easy to dodge. So I think Fuse is just kind of bad. I did see a proposed change for Fuse that would be really, really interesting to see. If he was able to roll his cluster charges out like Ying can roll out Candelas. I don't know how that would work. I don't know what kind of changes that would, I don't know how much better that would make Fuse, but I just think it'd be interesting, Next we'll move on to Glaz. Glaz is going to be our first operator thrown in the useless category. If you're bringing Glaz, you are throwing. He has frag grenades, but if you bring frags, then you're getting rid of the only grenade that makes his utility useful in smoke grenades. So yeah, you pretty much have a one-shot thermal DMR and frags. So Glaz is a meme. He's useless as an operator. Moving on to Goyo here. Goyo is C tier for me. Much better in Pro League than he is in ranked play. Especially, I think he would have been B tier maybe with the 3 shields, but now that he's down to 2 and the Vector, and he's just kind of meh, you know. I don't think Goyo's bad by any means. I just think Goyo's one of those operators, kind of like Capital, that's a little like he's not used correctly. When he is, he's kind of scary. But I'm gonna put him in this situational where it depends on the team you're playing or who you have playing Goyo. So Gridlock for me. Gridlock's gonna be a good operator for me. She's gonna go in this B tier category. I think she's got good guns, good utility, and she's got a super shorty and secondary, so she can pop unreinforced hatches. Yeah, I think Gridlock's very much a B tier operator. So moving on to Hibana. Hibana is gonna be a probably like, I don't want to say must have, because I think with the addition of Ace, she's now been pushed into this role of like, if you're not taking hatches, you're kind of misusing Hibana, because taking walls is just kind of meh. So we'll put Hibana in A, actually, in A tier, just because I think she's become very much a hatch taker as a role. And then moving on to Yana, we have Yana in, I'm gonna put Yana in C. In this situational category. I don't think she's amazing. I don't think she's bad. I've seen some pretty nasty plays with her drone, so we'll put her in this depends on who's running her category. G36 and the ARX are good guns. They're not, you know, they're not S tier guns, but they're good guns. So we'll put Yana kind of in this like C tier category. IQ for me is going A tier. I don't think IQ is have to have, because I don't think she's brought for her gadget as much as she's just brought for the G8 with an angled and a hollow. But being able to play vertically and take out bandits and take out utility is really nice on maps like Villa. So I'm going to put IQ in this A tier operator. Jackal for me is also an A tier operator. He's got arguably the best gun in the game. In my opinion, on console, it is the best gun in the game. On PC, with recoil being easier to control, I could see it being the AK-12, but for me, I think the C70 might have it slightly as the best gun, just from a console perspective. I love Jackal, best roam clear in the game. Gets banned a ton, unfortunately, but he's super fun to run. So Jackal's going to be A tier for me. Jaeger is a must pick for me. If you're running any site, doesn't matter. Jaeger is useful. He stops flashbangs. He stops frag grenades. He'll burn an ace charge if it's thrown in the right way. Literally stops all throwables. So Jaeger is a must pick for me as an operator. Fantastic gun. Even though he was dropped down from a 3-speed to a 2-speed, he's a little thicker. He's still got an amazing gun and great utility. Moving on to Cade. I think Cade moves up to B tier this season because he has the 1.5 scope. And he has the 1.5 scope on the AUG, and he's really the only useful operator to get hatches, or to electrify hatches. So Cade has moved up to a B tier operator for me. Callie is... This is a little tough now with the Thatcher changes. I think last season Callie was kind of in this B to C tier range. I think she was C, then when she got the Clash SMG, she was maybe B. But you're still using a sniper rifle, so it's kind of tough, especially now with the additions of the 1.5 scope on defense. I think Callie fits in this like C tier area. Moving on to Capkin. Capkin's very much an operator that it depends on who you're playing, so we're going to put him in C tier as well. Did get the 1.5 scope on his SMG, which is really nice with an angled grip. But at the same time, if you're playing a team that methodically like pays attention to what they're doing, Capkin can be kind of meh. If you're playing a team that's very passive and waits, and you've surrounded site with these things, it can come in handy. But if if depends on who's playing and who you're playing against for Capkin's effectiveness, in my opinion. Legion to me So Legion to me last season was an A tier operator. Very good. Super annoying. Impacts. You can surround an entire site with his goo mines. This season for me, he's a must pick. He has the 1.5 scope on the T5. It's nasty. And then he also, you know, can surround an entire site and these annoying ass little mines. So Legion is going to go make a move up for me into a must pick area. Lion's going into C tier for me, mostly because I don't feel like I've ever lost a round and been like, man, we would have won that if we'd have had Lion, you know. I think Lion scans are useful if used correctly and used in a team setting and used with a lot of coordination. But by himself and as a utility operator, I don't know if Lion's. I think he's just very much C tier. Maestro for me is an S tier operator. Basically, you can use Maestro on any site. He's arguably got the best gun on defense. You know, with the Alda, he has the Bailiff. He has impact grenades. He has barbed wire. He has 2 evil eyes that can deny plant and can destroy attacker utility and things like that. So Maestro is very much a must pick operator in my opinion. Yay! Maverick, my personal favorite operator, so you can call me biased if you want to. I'm not going to put him in must pick. I don't think Maverick is a must pick operator. I think he is very much an A tier operator. I think he's very meta. Maverick to me is one of those operators that, like, he has that C tier quality where it's like it's very dependent upon who's running him, but it's not very hard to learn how to run Maverick, and he also doesn't have a counter. Pretty good weapon in the M4. Lost his ACOG, but still has the 1.5, so still pretty viable. So yeah, I'm going to put Maverick in this A tier range. So next we're going to move on to Melusi. So I think Melusi before the buff before the nerf was a must pick. Now I'm going to put her in A, just because the Banshees are super annoying. She's got a really good gun in the T5. She can roam. She has impact. She has a C4. Melusi is definitely an A tier operator with everything that she brings to the table for your team. Mira, for me, is going to be... She's going to float on this line between B and A. I don't think Mira's quite meta because I don't think you have to have her to win some sites. I think it really depends on who you're playing and how they handle Mira. So I'm going to put Mira in this B category with the Vector. Because Mira is very much one of those, if used with team synergy, she can be great, but if you've got some random kid that doesn't really know what they're doing and they set up the Miras wrong, it can be kind of a yikes. So Mira is going to be a very B tier operator for me. Monty is going to be C tier. He's situational. If you've got somebody on your team running Monty that literally just peeks the entire time with their shield down, leaves their head up, he's not going to bring a whole lot to your team. But if you've got somebody that is willing to be patient and passive and help you roam clear essentially with Monty or room clear with Monty as you enter site, it can be very useful and very tough to deal with as a defender. So Monty's going to be C tier for me, be situational. Mozzie for me is going to go in this B tier. I think he was very much an A tier / S tier operator. We had the super shorty, but losing that kind of brings him down. He does get the 1.5 on the P10 Roni, which I have seen get a lot more love recently with the P10. Now that you can, slap that 1.5 scope on it and get some range with it. Really easy to hit headshots too. No recoil on that gun. Still has the commando, also a fantastic gun in my opinion. Really good in tandem with Mute if used correctly. So Mozzie for me is a B tier operator. Mute. Man, Mute would have been a meta operator for me. He would have been A. But now with the addition of the 1.5 scope on Mute's MP5, he is very much a S tier operator. He is very much you can bring him on any site and he's going to be useful. He's going to be viable. Both of his kits work. I'm not going to get mad at anybody if they choose to run MP5 with the 1.5 scope as long as we've got somebody to make rotates with impacts. Very much an S tier operator is Mute for me. I just think that 1.5 does a lot of things. And it's very nasty. So, Knock is bad. Knock is bad. She is. She's just not. She has FMG9. It's meh, even with a 1.5 scope. I think Knock could move into this situational area if she could pop her ability and hide from Melusi's Banshees. I think that would move her into this C tier. But for now, really only being able to hide from cams when she's not sprinting and having a FMG9, I'm going to put Knock in that D tier kind of bad area. Nomad. Nomad for me is an S tier operator. Best flank watch in the game. She's got 2 completely viable guns in the AK and the ARX. You can run both of them and be just fine. I don't think that doesn't mean both of her guns are S tier by any means. I don't mean her guns are S tier. But I think Nomad overall is the complete package as an operator that makes her S tier. Her utility renders you useful for 2 to 3 seconds. If it goes off, you literally can't do anything. You are literally just a target. So I think Nomad is a must-pick operator. Oryx for me is C tier. If you've got somebody that knows how to roam efficiently with Oryx and is good with the MP5, Oryx can be scary. But like I said, if you get to bring Jackal or you get to bring maybe like Dokkaebi, or your team just knows how to drone correctly, Oryx can be kind of situational. So Pulse also for me is going to go, well, I'll put Pulse in B actually. And here's my reasoning for that. I'll put Pulse in B because if you have Pulse relaying information to you with his heartbeat scanner, it's super useful for your team. Plus, also with being able to deny plant vertically using the heartbeat sensor, I think Pulse is a good operator. I think he kind of floats on that situational, but I'm gonna slide him in B just because got a soft spot for Pulse, I guess. The UMP's meh, it's not that great. So yeah, I'm just gonna slide Pulse into B. So next we're gonna go with Rook. Rook for me got a buff into B. So he would have been a C tier operator, but with him having the 2.0 scope on the MP5 and Doc losing it, I think Rook gets a little bit of a buff. I know the armor's not super great and it doesn't really do the most for you, but his entire kit with the MP5, with the 2.0 scope, and having impacts, and him being a thick French boy eating those shots, I think Rook is kind of like a B tier operator. So Sledge for me is an A tier operator. Now that Buck lost his frag grenades, Sledge is great for soft breach destruction and also has frags. Really good gun in the L85 too. Sledge for me is one of those operators that if somebody brings, I'm not going to get mad at it because it's Sledge. He's a good operator. Moving on to Smoke. Smoke for me is an A tier operator. I think preferably his kit, you want to use the shotgun and use the SMG-11. But he's great for like plant denial and he's good for stalling. So Smoke for me is very much an A tier operator. Tachanka is useless. He's a meme. So yes, in our hearts, Tachanka is an S tier, but in reality, Tachanka is an F tier. He is useless. This is pre-rework Tachanka, so I'll hold off on, that could change. I don't know how good new Tachanka is going to be, but this is pre-rework Tachanka. Thatcher for me would have been a must pick, but now with his new utility and the changes they made to him, I think he's going to be an A tier operator. Still pretty useful, but still, you can still be bandit tricked. So I'm going to put, I think Thatcher falls just a little bit, but I don't think he's going anywhere, and I think his ban rate's still going to be pretty high. It actually hasn't really changed, in my opinion, in my experience, because I don't know if people want to learn how to play against Thatcher again. I don't think people want to learn how to play against new Thatcher. They'd rather just stick to the meta we have now, where Thatcher's just not a thing. But we'll see. Maybe that'll change throughout Shadow Legacy. I hope it does. I'd like to see more creative bans, but for now, Thatcher is going to be an A tier operator for me. Thermite is a must pick, in my opinion. He kind of goes hand in hand with Ace. You need a hard breacher to have success in this game. So Thermite's going to be a must pick / A tier operator for me. I think Ace slightly edges him out just a little bit with having the AK-12 and being able to breach from range. But to me, Thermi is still holds a special place in my heart. Twitch. Oh man, I've struggled with Twitch. I think Twitch is a B tier operator. I think she floats on that line of C tier where it's situational. Like if you've got somebody that runs Twitch and they can control her gun and they can use that 1.5 scope on her now, then yeah, she's good. If you've got somebody that can be sneaky with her drones, then more power to you. But I think Twitch is kind of a B tier operator now. Valk is a personal favorite of mine. I know how people feel about Valk. Valk for me is an S tier operator. I think her gun having no recoil, really good for headshots, even though it is a pea shooter. Being able to put cams and hide cams anywhere. Deny plant if you place those cams correctly with C4 through the floor. Valk is an S tier operator. She can be useful on any site that you have. So yeah, that's shout out to my girl Valk, showing her some love. Vigil for me is an A tier operator. He's the best roamer in the game, in my opinion. Better than Cav because he can hide from drones, has a better gun and impact grenades. Vigil also has a sick headgear in the battle pass. If you haven't seen it, it's, oh my god, it looks so good. But Vigil, yeah, for me is an A tier operator. Best roamer in the game, in my opinion. Wamai's also an A tier operator. I think he was a B tier operator, and then now people have figured out how to use him, and they see how useful he can be in tandem with Jaeger. Plus, he has the 1.5 on his MP5K, and he has the AUG, both completely viable guns. A deployable shield that he can play behind and really wreak some havoc, shut down an area if he gets enough Wamai traps thrown out. So Wamai is very much an A tier operator for me. Warden is bad. Warden is a bad operator. Warden is not completely useless, so he's not an F. But Warden is a bad operator because he's very dependent upon the enemy team running Ying or going for smoke plants or being heavily dependent upon flashbangs or things like that. So Warden is a bad operator. Even if he got the 1.5 scope on the MPX, Warden is just not, he's just not it, guys. I know y'all love him, but he's just not it. Sorry, Bubby. You're a D tier operator. Ying. Ying for me is a C tier operator. Ying's very much one of those operators that's as good as the person using them. I've faced some kids that are really good with Ying and they're scary and it's kind of terrifying, and I've faced some kids that don't really know what the hell they're doing with Ying and they end up blinding their teammates and then nobody wins. So Ying's very situational for me. Zofia is an S tier operator, in my opinion. She's got arguably one of the best guns in the game in the M762 with the 2.0 scope. It's fantastic. She also has 2 impact grenades and 2 stun grenades in her lifeline, as well as breach charges and a claymore that are super useful in a multitude of situations. Zofia is an S tier operator. And last but not least, the newest boy in town, Sam Fisher, 0. So my initial reaction to 0 was he was going to be meta. He was going to be an A tier operator. He was going to be really good. But I think right now, with the experience I have and how far we are into the season, which isn't very far into Shadow Legacy, so this is, we'll throw tentative up on this, you know, subject to change up on this 0 ranking here. I'm going to throw him at B. He's got 2 completely viable kits in the MP7 with the 1.5 scope and the SC3000 with the 1.5 and the 2.0 scope. I personally lean towards the SC3000 because it has the same damage as the AK-12, even though it has less ammo. I think the SC3000 is the way to go, but I totally understand if you run a gun with the MP7. His Argus cameras, boy, they're loud when you shoot them through a wall or you shoot them through a floor. They're good if you can find a room, like if you can find a part of sight where nobody's really paying attention, nobody notices. If you can get past that initial sound it makes when they go off, they're super useful. Currently, there's a little like ADS glitch in the game where the ADS sensitivity on them is like almost uncontrollable, so that sucks. But right now, 0 for me sits at B tier. And then I guess we'll throw recruit's god tier. Recruit's above S. You know, best thing to ever happen to Rainbow Six Siege. Recruit. But that's, yeah. This is my ranking, guys. This is who I think from S all the way to F tier as the operators go. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I put somebody too high or too low and why you think I did. And hopefully we'll have some good discussion in the comments. So thanks for checking out the video, guys. I appreciate it, and I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. See ya.